We're going to get started with this story about Tupac. Now, a couple of months ago, I did a story or covered a story about the Tupac case that the Las Vegas police actually searched a home which they believe to be in connection with the murder of Tupac Shakur. Let's go ahead and go back to that. And then I'm going to show you what has been discovered as of recently, because they have made an arrest in reference to the Tupac Shakur case. I know what some of you are thinking. It took them long enough, right? And then there's still some speculation. Some people are still not feeling they got the right person. But let's go back to that raid that happened in Las Vegas to remind you how we got here this year.
And breaking in just the last hour, we are learning that Las Vegas police have searched a home in connection to the murder of Tupac, a murder that's gone unsolved for nearly 30 years. He died, remember, at the age of 25 after being shot in a drive-by in Vegas. You're looking at some of that old footage here. I don't have to tell you that Tupac Shakur, mega huge rap star. A short but legendary career. He sold tens of millions of records worldwide, most of that coming after his death. There has never been an arrest in the case, and police say this new search now, just the last 24 hours in Vegas, is part of an investigation even all these years later into his death. Noah Pransky is joining us now. What else do we know? And does it signal that maybe police are getting closer to solving this mystery that's been out there for years of who killed Tupac?
Well, I don't want to speculate, but the statement you just read is about all we're getting from police at this point. We do know it took place in Henderson, Nevada, which is a suburb not too far from the center of Las Vegas, southeastern corner of the Las Vegas area. Police looked at this place last night, but we still don't have many new details today. As you mentioned, this case has been going on for 20-something years, unsolved, but in Nevada, there is no statute of limitations on homicides. So police have apparently been continuing to look. It seems like maybe there was some new lead. And Hallie, you know, you look back, there were a lot of police involved in this from Nevada, New York, California. We were talking about East Coast, West Coast rivalries, gang violence. There was a lot of reasons that maybe this case never got solved, but I'm sure a lot of folks crossing their fingers today.
Okay, that's to remind you of what happened just a couple of months ago, to let you know that they were getting closer to solving this case. Now, I say this with some type of skepticism just because of the fact that Kesheev D had, basically admitted to being involved with Tupac's murder years ago. And for whatever reason, they did not want to, I guess, believe him. He actually went on record saying that Puff Daddy, who some of you who are younger may know as P. Diddy, that Puff Daddy offered him $1 million to murder Tupac Shakur. That was his story back then. And apparently he stuck with that story. And over the weekend, it was announced that police finally made an arrest in reference to Tupac Shakur's murder. But does everyone believe that they actually captured the right person? You're going to hear from Tupac's brother after this clip. So let's go ahead and dive into this clip here from CNN.
Breaking news just into CNN. Las Vegas police have arrested a suspect in connection with the 1996 drive-by shooting death of legendary rapper Tupac Shakur. CNN's Camila Bernal joins us live right now, along with CNN legal analyst Joey Jackson. So first to you, Camila, what are we learning about this arrest?
Hey, Boris. Sources telling CNN that they have arrested Dwayne Keith Davis, also known as Kesheev D. He was arrested this morning, according to sources, in connection with the killing of Tupac Shakur. Now,
so they arrested Kesheev D, the same guy who admitted years ago that he was offered $1 million by Puff Daddy to murder Tupac Shakur. Remember, this guy admitted this years ago. So some people are actually feeling a little bit skeptical because they feel like they just arrested this guy just to say they had somebody and just to close this case. That's what some people feel. Others like me are like, why didn't they just arrest him back then when he admitted to doing this. And then there are those that still believe that, no, this was all the FBI. This was not Keefe D. This was not gang violence. This was all the FBI. Could be a little bit of all three.
We do know that in July, the Las Vegas Metro Police Department served a search warrant on Davis's wife's home. And what they were looking for was any evidence linking to this crime. They were looking for anything that could show motive as to the killing of Tupac Shakur. And specifically, we know that in this search warrant, police were able to obtain multiple tablets, an iPhone. They took 5 computers, USB drives, photographs. So we know that they have been looking into this case and have been investigating this case since it happened in 1996.
Pause. So she said they were looking for any evidence in his home that would link him to this case. And so the question that I would have, after over 20 years, he still had evidence linking him to this crime? Guys, I don't have t-shirts I bought 4 years ago. Okay, so unless he was just very meticulous about holding on to possessions, I just found this very difficult to believe that someone all those years, 20 years later, he still held on to some type of evidence that would link him to this crime. Let's continue.
At the moment, we do not know what Davis has been charged with. We are expecting a press conference later on today to get details from authorities. But again, this is something that happened in 1996 and police have been looking into for years now. Dwayne Keith Davis, he had described himself as one of the only witnesses to this shooting. If you recall, Tupac Shakur was in a car. They were at a boxing match at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas. They were in a car, and all of a sudden there was another car that pulled next to them, and the shooting began. It's unclear exactly who shot Tupac, but again, this is a huge development in this case years later, as we now know that there is someone arrested in connection to this case, Boris.
Joey, to you, it's been nearly 3 decades since Tupac was shot and killed. This is a surprising development, to say the least. What's your reaction?
Yeah, so Boris, significant and surprising development without question. But I think that what we have to understand is in murder cases, there is no statute of limitations. It's quite common that you have law enforcement throughout this country that continue to operate in a cold case capacity, continue to follow leads, and decades later, sometimes they come to a conclusion. Obviously, in any arrest here, right, anyone's presumed innocent till proven guilty, but police have been working this case. And in fact, they are giving the indication that is police that potentially this person was quite involved. Now, remember, right, in the event that there's a pull-up shooting, and indications are it happened from the back seat of that white Cadillac 27 years ago in September. But, you know, in the event that you aided, abetted, assisted, or acted in concert, you need not even be the person who pulled the trigger. There are some indications from the person that they have in custody now that it was his nephew who was in the back seat. Again, all allegations. His nephew, of course, who is now dead. But his nephew denied that he was involved at all. And of course, the giving up of his nephew, the person in custody now, is in connection with another case where he was questioned. There's certainly reports from his own book that he was present, that he was there, that he was in that vehicle. Now, mere presence, to be clear, is never enough. You have to establish that you had knowledge of it, were in on it, and acted in accord with whatever was occurring. And so certainly now, after all of this time, yes, there are challenges, Boris, in moving forward, but you have to believe that based on the search warrant they conducted in July of the suspect's wife's home, based upon the information they gathered, based upon street intelligence and other information, that they have probable cause to believe.
So my question is, are they going to serve Puff Daddy with the search warrant? Or are they going to search Puff Daddy's home or homes?
believe that he's involved, and we'll see how the prosecution moves forward after today.
Joey, to me, just the fact that this was a cold case for so long is significant, because this was a very public shooting on the Las Vegas Strip. You imagine there were many witnesses there, and it came after a fight, right, at the MGM Grand that was caught on security camera, in which there was always suspicion that some of the folks that were involved in that fight may have been involved in Tupac's shooting. Talk to us about the challenges of looking into a case like this with nearly 30 years of cold evidence.
Before he talks about the challenges, I want to bring up one of the obvious challenges: technology. In 1996, there was no social media. For all the people born after 96, just letting you know, there was no social media. Internet was so-so, not like how it is now. Think about it. There was no iPhone. So that's what I want to know. What evidence did they find to link him to the murder, but also to the point where they said, we are going to arrest you? Because they weren't willing to arrest him when he admitted to doing it.
Yeah, Boris, it's a great question. Certainly, you want to have arrests that are closer in time to when an incident occurred for a variety of reasons, right? The nature of the evidence presented, the memories of the witnesses, the value, whether people's memories have gone stale or gone cold. But you don't now know, right? The reality is that if you're investigating a case for long-standing, presumably police have done a very diligent job, have information just not based on the arrest today, but of information that they've gleaned over the course of a number of years in connecting the dots. They have information that this particular suspect, verbal statements he's given, memoirs of his own that have been out there. We don't know, Boris, who police have spoken to in the course, right, of getting to today, how they have connected this person here, how other information may have been preserved that police have. Remember, we have the public reports, but we don't know the in-depth information that police have gleaned. So, yes.
We'll go ahead and pause it there. You know, there's something fishy about this. And I'm not saying that just to be that person, okay? But there's something fishy about this. And I say this because, again, Keefe D, he admitted to this years ago. And for me, I guess I'm just kind of like, I don't know, dude. I don't know. You got to give me more than that. Now, Tupac's brother did speak out after this arrest. So I want you to hear what Tupac's brother had to say, because I thought this was very interesting. I'm just going to fast forward to when his brother comes up right about here. Listen to what his brother says.
Use what his brother meant by thug life.
The core of it is about looking out for the poor, the disenfranchised, and the kids. If you don't look out for the kids, they could turn out to be a monster. A lot of times, kids in these communities are forgotten about, left out, shorted.
Tupac's music explored themes.
I have to pause it there just because of the song part. And then I want to fast forward a little bit, because some of this I can't show. This part right here.
But he was never charged.
Were you involved in any way in the death of Tupac Shakur?
No, I was not involved. I mean, I'm like a victim. You know what I'm saying? I feel, you know what I'm saying, sorry for him.
The night of Tupac's murder, surveillance showed Anderson being beaten by Shakur and his entourage in Las Vegas.
Now, Orlando Anderson is the guy that Tupac believed took his friend's medallion. So there was a fight at the MGM Grand. Mike Tyson was fighting there. After that fight, they got into an altercation, then took off, and the shooting happened that same night.
Hours later, Shakur was gunned down in a drive-by. Now, police say they finally arrested his killer, the uncle of the initial prime suspect.
My thoughts are, yeah, this information has been out there. What took so long?
This information has been out there for decades. For decades, you guys. So this is Tupac Shakur's stepbrother, and he's asking the same question a lot of us have been asking. What took so long?
It's a type of victory, you know. It's bittersweet still. Stay tuned. I miss my brother. You know what I mean? At the end, all of that, I miss my brother. So, you know, I'm glad something's happening.
One of the things I do want to say, especially for those of you who may be a little bit younger, when Tupac was murdered, I always remember when Tupac was murdered and when Biggie was murdered. I found out Tupac died the morning I was getting ready to go to school. 1996, September 1996, and Biggie died a couple of months after that. And I remember Biggie died March 9th, 1997. And I remember that one so vividly because that was the day after my birthday. So I always remember. And they still haven't arrested anyone in reference to the murder of Biggie either. But one thing that always bothered me, and I said this a couple months ago, it was always kind of weird to me how Puffy was always around. Puffy was present when Biggie was killed, and Puffy was present when Tupac was killed. But nothing happened to Puffy. I've talked about this multiple times. It's just very weird to me. No scratch, no nothing. So Keefy D still stands by his statement that Puffy offered him $1 million to murder Tupac. So my next question, are the law enforcement authorities going to question Puffy? We'll have to wait and see. This for me was kind of when hip hop died. When Tupac died and Biggie died, then there was sort of a resurgence with like Eminem and Jay-Z started to expand out. But for me, for those of us growing up during that time, this to me was when hip hop really died. Until this day, nobody raps like that. No one raps like Tupac. No one raps like Biggie. Like it was a totally different style. And you have to remember, what was Tupac talking about? Tupac was talking about the system. Tupac was talking about capitalism. In multiple interviews, he was complaining about the government giving money for war, but not giving money to the poor. Those are the kind of things that Tupac spoke about. Tupac's mother was a Black Panther. And word on the street has it is that Tupac, before he died, was trying to start another coalition similar to the Black Panthers. That he was going to try to unite people across class lines. And that's why some people believe the FBI took out Tupac. But we may never know the full story. A lot of these people, the ones who have the ability to become these revolutionary leaders. I wish I could play the video on here, but I can't because it's copyright, because it's MTV. But a lot of these people that have the voice, that have the drive, the energy, and don't forget, he was rich. So Tupac had the resources to actually change things. A lot of these people don't make it to 30. Fred Hampton was 21 when they killed him. Something to think about.